Hello everyone, my name is Eustace and thank you for taking few minutes to be part of my story. 1 year ago, I began a journey that I never knew would transform me in so many ways. A journey that challenged me, shaped me, and changed the way I see teaching, leadership, and service. When I joined the Teach for Nigeria Fellowship, I thought I was coming to teach and impact the life of students. But along the way, I discovered something even more powerful. While I was helping students grow, I was also helping myself grow. This is not just a story about teaching experience. It is a story about purpose, resilience, learning, and the power of believing in people. Over the next few minutes, I will take you through my first year as a Teach for Nigeria Fellow. The challenges, the lessons, the impact, and the moments that made this journey unforgettable. This is my story.
Before I became a fellow, I was building a career as a residential and commercial painter, transforming homes, offices, and other space with colors and creativity. But while I was transforming building, something else was quietly transforming me. I discovered a deep passion for teaching. Every opportunity I had to mentor students or prepare them for examination brought me a sense of fulfillment that no other work could give me. Yet, I knew passion alone wasn't enough. I wanted to become more than someone who simply stood in front of a classroom. I wanted to understand how students learn. I wanted to inspire curiosity, build confidence, and create meaningful learning experience that would stay with them long after the lesson ended. Looking back today, I realized that teaching wasn't just something I loved doing. It was my purpose. I just didn't know that one opportunity was about to transform that passion into a lifelong mission. When I first came across the Teach for Nigeria Fellowship, I knew this was more than just another application. It was an opportunity to grow, not just as a teacher, but as a leader and as someone who could make a lasting difference in the life of young people. Without hesitation, I submitted my application. The journey that followed was rigorous. There were assessment, interview, and several stages of evaluation. Every step challenged me to reflect on why I wanted to teach and that kind of impact I hope to make. What stood out to me throughout the process was its fairness and integrity. There were no shortcuts. Every stage was based on merit, and that made earning a place in the fellowship even more meaningful. Then came the moment that changed everything. I received my acceptance letter. Out of thousands of applicants from across Nigeria, I had been selected as a Teach for Nigeria Fellow. It was a moment of gratitude, excitement, and responsibility. As I completed my documentation, medical clearance, and preparations for the institute, I knew I wasn't just preparing for a training program, I was preparing for a journey that would transform my life. A few weeks after receiving my acceptance letter, I packed my bags and traveled to Abeokuta, Ogun State for the Teach for Nigeria Pre-Service Training Institute, which was held at FUNAB. I arrived early for registration, completed my documentation, and settled into my accommodation without any difficulty. There was an atmosphere of excitement everywhere. Hundreds of fellows from different parts of Nigeria had gathered with one common purpose to become better teachers and leaders. As the training began, I quickly realized that this was unlike any learning experience I had ever had. Every day challenged me to think differently. We explored learner centered teaching, educational leadership, classroom culture, community engagement, and what it truly means to put students at the center of learning. We didn't just sit and listen, we collaborated, solved problems, reflect on our experience, and learn from one another. One lesson that had remained with me ever since is the Teach for Nigeria 5 step lesson framework. The starter, I do, we do, you do, and plenary. It completely changed the way I think about teaching. I realized that great teaching isn't about how much the teacher talks. It is about creating opportunity for students to think, participate, collaborate, and discover. Beyond the teaching or the classroom section, the institute also gave me something even more valuable. It connected me with passionate educators from different backgrounds, people who believed, just like I did, that every child deserves an excellent education. By the end of the institute, I wasn't living with just new knowledge. Rather, I was living with a new mindset, a stronger sense of purpose, and the confidence that I could make a meaningful impact wherever I was posted. Every lesson I learned at the institute prepared me for one thing, my placement community. But no amount of training could fully prepare me for what laid ahead. It was time to leave the comfort of the institute and begin the real work. When the institute came to an end, I was posted to Ilara Kaka Community Grammar School in Raymond, North Ogun State. Before the official resumption date, I traveled to my placement community where a fellow, Mr. Sunday, welcomed me into his home and accommodated me for 2 days. His kindness made my transition much easier. I remain grateful for that support. After returning briefly to Abuja to complete a few personal arrangements, I came back to Ogun State before the school resumed. On the 15th of September 2025, I officially resumed at my placement school. My first journey to the school was unforgettable because I was still staying some distance away. I traveled for almost 1 hour on difficult road. Along the way, I fell from the motorcycle, and by the time I arrived at the school, my clothes and belongings were covered in mud. It wasn't the kind of first day anyone would imagine, but despite everything, I walked into the school with hope and determination. From the very first day, I was warmly received by the principal, the teachers, and the entire school community. Their kindness immediately made me feel that I belonged. That same day after the school closed, we began searching for accommodation closer to the school. Thankfully, by the following day, I found a place to stay. Even while moving my belongings, I fell again from the motorcycle, and my bags and clothes were covered with mud once again. And I began to ask myself, can I really do this for the next 2 years? But deep inside, I already knew the answer. I didn't join Teach for Nigeria because the journey would be easy. I joined because I wanted to grow, to serve, and to make a difference. That purpose became stronger than every challenge I faced. Looking back today, I can confidently say every difficult moment was preparing me for a greater purpose and a greater impact. As I settled into my new school, I began to understand the reality of my student. Every classroom has its own story, every community has its own challenges, and before I could teach economics, I first understand the learner sitting in front of me. During my time in the school, I wasn't just looking at their academic performance, I was trying to understand the culture of the school and the challenges that affected learning. One thing quickly became obvious. Many students paid little attention to their appearance, uniform were incomplete, some students dressed improperly, while others didn't realize that the way they presented themselves reflected their confidence and attitude towards learning. I believe that before we could transform academic performance, we also needed to build discipline, confidence, and self respect. That belief inspired the Smart Appearance Project, also known as the Dress Properly campaign. With the full support of our principal, Mrs. Elizabeth Famaroti, my fellow colleagues, and the school community, we developed awareness material, printed banner, and officially launched the campaign. Our message was simple: dress properly, think properly, live properly. The response from the students was remarkable. Over time, proper dressing became part of the school culture. Today, I can proudly say that what was once a major challenge has become one of the school strengths, with about 90 to 95% of students now dressing appropriately. But the transformation didn't stop there. I also noticed that many students were not writing notes consistently or completing their assignment. So I introduced a weekly notebook accountability system. Every week, students submitted their notebook, classwork and assignment, for continuous assessment. At first, it wasn't easy, but gradually, students became more confident and more responsible and more engaged in their learning. The impact became so visible that the school adopted the system across different classrooms. That experience taught me something very important. Sometimes meaningful change doesn't begin with massive resources. It begins with paying attention, taking initiative, and believing that small action can create lasting transformation. One of the greatest lessons Teach for Nigeria taught me is that every child has potential. Sometimes that potential is hidden, waiting for someone to recognize it, nurture it, and give it opportunity to shine. When I heard about the Teach for Nigeria Unleashing the Hidden Gem Talent Hunt competition, I immediately knew this was more than just another competition. It was an opportunity to expose my students to experience beyond the walls of our school and beyond the limit of our community. I encouraged one of my students who had passion and talent for drawing to participate. Before we left for the competition, I told the student something very simple. Our goal is not just to win, our goal is to learn, to grow, and to experience something bigger than ourselves. We traveled to the competition with hope, excitement, and confidence. Then something remarkable happened. The student emerged first position in the drawing competition and was also recognized as the overall best talent, bringing home a gold medal for our school. The excitement on the student face, the joy across the school, and the pride within the community reminded me why I chose education. It wasn't just about a medal, it was about showing a young person that their talent matter. A few months later, another opportunity came our way. The Teach for Nigeria and Ogun State Government Girls Tournament held at MKO Abiola International Stadium. This time, I had the opportunity of accompanying 13 girls from my school. Once again, our objective wasn't simply to compete. We wanted our students to experience a bigger world, build confidence, and realize that they could compete alongside students from different schools and communities. They embraced the challenge with determination and courage. At the end of the tournament, our school proudly won the bronze medal in the 400-meter race. Watching our students celebrate our achievement was another reminder that education extends far beyond textbook and examination. It is about building confidence, creating opportunity, discovering potential, and helping young people believe in themselves. Those two experiences strengthen my conviction that when teachers create opportunity, students often discover strength they never knew they had. Sometimes changing one life begins with simply believing in one child. As I watched my student grow, something unexpected was happening. I was growing too. Teach for Nigeria wasn't only transforming the life of my student, it was transforming mine. One of the greatest gifts Teach for Nigeria gave me wasn't just the opportunity to teach, it was the opportunity to see education differently. During the institute, we were introduced to the five-step lesson framework: starter, I do, we do, you do, and plenary. At first, I saw it simply as a teaching framework, but as I continued using it in my classroom, one question kept coming to my mind. Should this knowledge remain in my classroom? The answer was no. That simple question inspired me to create the Dpenomics Academy. My vision was simple: to make economics simple, practical, and accessible to every student regardless of where they live. I wanted to expand or extend my classroom beyond the four walls of my school and reach learners who might never have the opportunity to sit in my classroom. Today, the Dpenomics Academy continues to grow, reaching hundreds of learners through simplified economics lesson and educational content. But Teach for Nigeria didn't stop there. It also transformed the way I see learning. I came into the fellowship with a passion for teaching. I now have an even greater passion for learning. Since joining Teach for Nigeria, I have completed over 30 professional certifications across education, educational leadership, teaching methodology, inclusive education, digital skill, artificial intelligence, young development, and development economics. I have had the privilege of learning from organizations such as UNICEF, Teach for All, the British Council, HP Life, and many other global institutions. Every course reminded me that great teachers never stop learning. The more I learned, the better I became in the classroom, the better I served my students, and the more I realized that education is a lifelong journey. Looking back today, I can confidently say that Teach for Nigeria didn't simply make me a better teacher, it made me a lifelong learner. As I reflect on these past 365 days, one thing has become very clear to me. No meaningful journey is ever completed alone. Behind every lesson taught, every project implemented, and every milestone achieved, there are people who supported me, encouraged me, and believed in this journey. I am deeply grateful to my school leadership, especially my principal, Mrs. Elizabeth Famoroti, for her encouragement, openness, and support in allowing ideas that contributed to positive change within our school community. I also appreciate the teachers and staff members who welcomed us, worked with us, and became an important part of this journey. I am especially grateful to my Teach for Nigeria colleague, Busola Margaret Oyedele. Sharing this journey with her has been a blessing. Throughout this first year, she has been a strong support system, a reliable partner, and a true backbone. Her encouragement, collaboration, and commitment made the journey easier and more meaningful. Also, I want to sincerely appreciate my coach, Kotu Toyi. Her guidance, encouragement, and belief in my potential have been exceptional. She has consistently pushed me forward, supported my growth, and ensured that the work and impact we are creating received the visibility it deserves. I am grateful for her investment in my journey. Most importantly, I am grateful for my students. They are the reason this journey exists. They have taught me patience, resilience, empathy, and the true meaning of education. While I came hoping to make an impact, they also changed me in a way I never expected. Looking back, Teach for Nigeria did not only transform me as a teacher, it transformed me as a leader and as a person. It taught me that change begins with belief, grows through collaboration, and becomes positive when people work together with purpose. But the journey is not over. There is still more to learn, more to serve, more lives to impact, and I look forward to the next chapter.